Hi everyone, welcome. I'm preparing to check in on this gray tub straight ahead in which we've got some African nightcrawler worms living. These little guys were set up with a cotton towel test. In the past I've done composting experiments with various cotton fabrics. I've done t-shirts and socks and towel, and in this case we're doing towel again, and it's a somewhat larger chunk of towel than I've used in the past, but I think for today's check-in my idea was to actually see if we can apply today's feeding in such a way that we don't even disturb or disrupt or hardly even see the towel. So that was my idea for today, to try to sort of delay the reveal on how the worms have done on the towel. Perhaps if we can even do this once or twice, then we will have sort of increased the amount of time between opportunities to see how the progress is coming along. So that was my plan for checking in on these little ANCs, African nightcrawlers. So let's get the system up on the bench and get them fed. So recently, it seems like my collection of leaves that I bring in from outside has been getting a fair bit of attention. For a while there, I was suspicious about possibly the leaves that I bring in from outside, possibly being the cause of insects being brought in, like mites or whatever it was that I was dealing with at the time. And speaking of insects, it seems like we've got a few flying insects here. So let me just grab my Mosquito Dunks solution. We're going to give the system a quick treatment of this stuff before we proceed. But really quick, back to the leaves. It did seem like for a while I was kind of shying away from the use of the leaves for fear that maybe I was bringing in stuff from outside, little bin critters that are not of the desired type, such as these gnats or fruit flies or whatever these things are. So the Mosquito Dunks BTI solution is thought to help reduce their numbers or to eliminate them completely. I've had success with it in the past, but more recently I've been suspicious that perhaps I've been allowing the stuff to sit around long enough that it's lost its effectiveness. But I guess I got a comment from a viewer who said, don't use paper, put the paper in the recycling, let it get recycled, and use leaves. So I wonder if that could be subliminally affecting my selection of bedding these days. Really quick before I get my hands all soiled here. The system here, the African nightcrawlers, are 118 days of age, fed 10 times so far. Today's feeding going in as number 11, and 12 days since the last check-in. And even though we're not going to take a look at the cotton towel, it's been in the system for about a month and a half, 46 days in total, but only half of that time now. Today, 23 days is what I'm actually counting as the active composting of the cotton, because for a while we had been taking the cotton towel and just sort of draping it out across the entire top surface, and it just wasn't getting the type of attention that you would expect, from the worms, in terms of it being in direct contact with them, it being in direct contact with the foods they're being fed, or even, for that matter, maintaining a level of dampness that would be required for the worms to have any interest in the towel. So it was only 23 days ago that we finally made the decision to, drop the towel down into the bed along with the foods so that it can finally get underway. So for those first 23 days, the towel I'm not really counting as having gotten a great deal of attention. So I'm already starting to see little hints of the towel here, little bits of red that you could see here and there. And I really didn't want to go much beyond this. I thought it might be interesting for us to sort of top feed, drop in the feedings that they're going to be getting. And like here, kind of an unusual way for me to be delivering coffee, because this coffee actually came from my mom's. She doesn't really provide me with coffee on a regular basis, but I believe that this particular batch of coffee was the result of her having some house guests. So she probably gave them some after dinner coffee and then dropped the coffee into the Ziploc for me. So the little coffee portion for today is going to get placed right here on top of the food. On top of the towel. And then I've got other food for them, a variety of frozen veggies. But before I forget, I'm going to also sprinkle in some of this pulverized eggshell, which is the grit that I give my worms typically. Well, pretty much always. I don't think I've ever used any grit other than pulverized eggshell. So I didn't really look through this. I just went into one of these assorted bags in the freezer of different stuff. So some of this looks like the possibly the leaves from a head of cauliflower. Some of this looks like potato peels. Stuff like this is very easy to identify. Bits of carrot. And maybe some other things, but I don't think I see anything else other than that in this assortment. So this is my feeding for the African night crawlers today. A little bit of frozen veggies, a little bit of coffee, a little bit of grit sprinkled on top, and I think they're going to probably enjoy that. So it's probably true that by not doing what we did last week, which was to actually take the towel, put in whatever leftovers we found, fold it over, put in the fresh feeding, which was, I believe, banana peels for the most part, and then fold it over again, and on top of that put the coffee in. So giving the maximum opportunity to the towel for worm traffic, that did seem like it might be the most optimal way to do it. And perhaps we'll return to doing it that way at some point in the near future, but I also thought it might be interesting to do what we're doing here, which is to just not even look at the towel today, other than just catching a brief glimpse of it from above with a minor excavation directly above it, and then just leaving it be, you know. And then maybe by doing so, the next time we do decide to actually excavate it, maybe we'll see a significant change in what had happened to it, rather than us always getting these little minute glimpses into the towel's progress, possibly not even showing any visible changes. Maybe this way we'll actually see something. So if you guys think that's a good idea, please leave a comment, let me know, and maybe the next feeding can be managed in a very similar way. But since we're, explicitly avoiding the center of the bin where the towel in the past feedings had been, we are able to rummage around on the outer edges of the system to see how things look. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to aerate the outer edges and bring in some material with which to cover up the feeding zone. Now I don't want to have a big mound in the middle, so I want to return some of this back down into the edge where it came from. What is this? It seems like it looks like we've actually unearthed a little fragment of towel here. That was unintentional, and I guess that's just going to happen, as this towel starts to go to pieces. It's going to just be scattered all about. So I think we will attempt to keep it as a whole object for a while, as long as we can, or at least keep it together as multiple objects in one particular location so we can track the progress. But after 23 days, in my mind it does seem like the t-shirts we did last time, which was I think the most recent cotton composting test, it did seem to me like after 100 days the cotton was more or less gone already. I think we prolonged the test a few extra weeks just because there were little bits of thread that appeared to have little fragments of fabric still adhering to them, so we may have padded the numbers a bit on how long it took for the cotton to get consumed last time. On this go around I thought, perhaps by using this cotton towel, which has actually already got a little bit of a jump start on the breakdown process by being very heavily exposed to ultraviolet light by sitting in a windowsill for many years. I thought that this stuff would probably have a high likelihood of getting broken down a little bit more quickly than the t-shirts did. So in my mind, I'm already imagining that at day 100, this towel will probably be history, or well before that even. So with 23 days of active composting in place already, we're probably about a quarter of the way there in terms of the towel being consumed by the worms. But these are all just me throwing spitball numbers out there. I don't even know if perhaps the time of year, the fact that we're in a nice warm time of year here, the summertime versus whenever it is that we did the cotton t-shirt test, it might have been a cooler time. I think this is some sort of a synthetic material, like a piece of plastic or something, so I'm taking it out. It doesn't feel like something that's going to go. So there again, there's always many variables. How many worms, the temperature, the moisture, the fabric itself, the condition it's in, how you orient the feeding relative to the foods that they're getting, etc. and so on. So there's many things that can influence the rate at which something gets broken down. So I'm going to do what we did last time, which is give the whole system a nice top coating of leaves. And I think since I'm definitely seeing some flying insects hanging around in this particular system, I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of our BTI Mosquito Dunks solution. And you know, even though we're kind of covering up here with very porous materials, pretty much just a feeding zone indicator and a little piece of cardboard, which means that the top surface is probably going to dry out pretty quickly. My hope is that the BTI bacteria that we're applying here does have a chance to make its way down into the system and take hold and do what it's meant to do. But I've also been a little bit leery of keeping my BTI solution around for too long and seeing it go inactive or ineffective. So I might want to also whip up a fresh batch one of these days soon, because I believe that this batch was prepared a few weeks ago now. So it might be time to grab a fresh little piece of that stuff and refresh my batch of Mosquito Dunk solution, just to make sure I'm using effective material rather than just spraying a bunch of diluted and expired material. So that's it for our check-in now with these African night crawlers. From what I could tell, based on what I saw on the outer edges, everything looks good. How the towel's doing, we're going to keep that a little bit of a mystery for a little while. So I'm definitely curious to see what everyone thinks about that idea. Hopefully you think it's an interesting idea, and we will pursue it further if you do. So let me know. Leave a comment. All right, everyone. That's it for the check-in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.